Hello, thank you for joining us in the Compassionate Women's Health Community monthly Her Story recording that you're listening to now. I've got Claire Hansen with us. Welcome.
Hi.
So my name is Belinda Chapman. I'm a therapist and wellness coach here in Brisbane with my Be Kinder to Yourself therapies practice. And Claire is joining us to share her story on how her chronic illnesses have affected her menstrual health. So Claire is a passionate early childhood educator, and I can fully vouch for that because she's my son's primary carer at his child care centre from the age of about 14 months old to 5. Yeah. On the day he turned 5 was his last day with Claire. It was very sad. She is a keen netballer and a liver transplant recipient. She's had ongoing health issues from the age of 18 and hoping to receive her second liver transplant before the end of this year. Her health journey has and continues to be a wild ride with many secondary health issues to go along with the liver failure. She tries to take each day as it comes, rests when she can, and goes outside as much as possible. She loves the fresh air and being in the bush with her puppy dog. So welcome again, Claire. Thank you so much for joining us. So as I was saying, it's a pretty casual chat, but I'd love for you to start with a bit of an overview of your story, your health journey.
Yeah, so it started when I was 18 and it's a tricky one to diagnose, I guess, but I had severe stress in high school. I put a lot of pressure on myself in my grade 11 and 12 years and tried to get a certificate and an OP and have a full-time job and play representative netball all at once. And it all sort of accumulated into mass amounts of stress, and I had panic attacks, and I just had a lot of like flu-like symptoms, but no one could really put their finger on what was causing it. And I guess that's when I was exposed to an environmental illness. But the condition I have is PSC, or primary sclerosing cholangitis, and it is not diagnosable. You just catch it, and usually people catch it when they're feeling at their lowest. They're stressed, or their immune system is compromised for whatever reason. So in grade 11 and 12, I was stressed and somewhat sick all the time. And by the time I was finally finishing up, I did finish grade 12 with an OP and a certificate, but no mental health, no good mental health to speak of. So by then I was really sick all the time and had liver failure, but no one could put their finger on what was causing it. That's the start. And then from there, it was a pretty quick downhill physical response to that stress and that disease that I caught, or that condition, which caused aggressive liver failure with Crohn's colitis as secondary, and a transplant before I was 20. Oh, I was 20, sorry. So almost 21 when I received my transplant.
So when you say caught the disease,
yeah.
So that means someone like infected you with it, or
more like environmentally. So I was exposed to something. It's very rare, and they have no idea how you get it. Usually older males get this PSC, and usually older males with mental health issues. They usually diagnose mental health issues before they diagnose the physical disease. And it's an environmental disease. It causes an environmental reaction or an exposure reaction in the body. So no, not caught from someone else. It's not contagious. It was an exposure to something. If we look at conspiracists, there's, the mosquito spray that they used to spray with helicopters over the islands, or, any type of mass animal control in the wilderness, or was the water contaminated and I was unfortunately the unlucky one. Yeah, so it's that kind of environmental exposure.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's something that your body couldn't process, couldn't deal with, couldn't eliminate.
Yeah.
And it's settled in and caused disruption to your immune system.
Yeah, caused an autoimmune response.
Yeah. And so we were chatting before we started recording that May does happen to be Crohn's Colitis Awareness Month. So it's actually perfectly timed that we're chatting to Claire, because even though you were saying it's secondary to the PSC, that in this women's health context, it's affecting your menstrual health. Do you want to talk to that a little bit more? Like, how does that play out for you?
Yeah, so my menstrual health is probably a really big one that no one ever really talks about, because it's expected, I guess, in the when you're talking to a doctor about it, they just go, oh yeah, well, that's pretty usual. But I was pretty late to get my my period, or hit puberty. I was 17 when I finally had my first period, and it took probably 12 months before it looked anything remotely like normal. And then once I was 18 and got really stressed, it stopped, and I didn't have it again until I had all of the symptoms. I was incredibly irrational, really moody, very aggressive, very emotional, angry all the time. And my mum actually has been diagnosed with psychosis with her menstruation. So, we just sort of chalked it up to that, and going through really difficult physical issues that I didn't realize the significance of how I was feeling in terms of my menstrual health, because it wasn't there. So there was nothing we could really talk about, and they would just say, oh, that's normal. And it wasn't until I finally met a specialist who said that it's not normal, and started to treat me with mental health issues and psychosis, as well as my physical issues. So I do think that,
let me check in there, Claire. What they were saying, the irrational moods was normal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was normal in context. So normal in I was on a lot of steroids as well when they first tried to fix my symptoms. So steroids and having I guess a genetic or hereditary disposition to have psychosis during your menstrual cycle means that your moods are normal. So you're supposed to act like that, because steroids and poor mental health issues creates this irrational, angry, emotional response. So that was normal, and they said deal with it.
And how did you feel about that?
At the time I didn't know any better, and fortunately I don't actually remember it. A great part of liver failure is forgetfulness and memory haze. So I remember moments of being really angry, and there are some friends that I don't have anymore, and I can only assume that that's because I wasn't a very nice person, and I was so busy trying to focus on the one thing that I could see and touch and feel that I didn't have time to look at those other parts of me as well.
Yeah.
And for years I sort of left it. I just, I was like, well, I just have a really difficult personality, and that's a you problem, not a me problem, because I couldn't handle it. I had to deal with what I could deal with at the time. Yeah.
So what's that last decade look like for you? Like, how's that played out with all those pieces interplaying?
Yeah, so my period actually came back the same on the night I got my transplant. My period came back, which is really common apparently for your cycle to start again when your body responds to a good treatment. So I got my period back the same day or during surgery, and that was full on. And then from then on, my menstrual cycle has been very inconsistent. So depending on what medications I'm on and what my overall minerals and nutrients and things like that, how whatever my levels are there depends on whether or not I will have a cycle monthly. Sometimes I have it once every 3 months, and sometimes I have it once every couple of weeks. It really just depends on if I'm having a good time or not. But in the last 10 years, I finally started to recognize that I had my own issues to deal with that really coincided with whatever my menstrual cycle looked like. So I was able to recognize that I needed help, pharmaceutical help, as well as therapy, to help me understand what I was in control of and what I wasn't, and what I could change and what I couldn't. I don't believe for myself in taking any medications to control my period, and that's because I already take a lot of medication. So I've taken on the responsibility of being aware of myself and my moods and my changes, so that I can share that with other people, I guess, to give them a bit more of a heads up of what could happen in the next days or weeks. I track as best I can a cycle, and just really pay attention to how I'm feeling. Usually I try and do that comparison. Would I care this much if I wasn't on my period? And if I start to realize that it wouldn't matter next week and it didn't matter last week, then maybe it only matters today, and I need to let that go. But that came with a lot of sort of discipline, help from other people, and medication. I am on antidepressants, and they do a lot. They help a lot.
Yeah.
Good
awareness. So what else are some of those other triggers for you to go, look, you might need to tread lightly here today, or I apologize in advance, or so what are some of those other like factors?
Some of them are really the standard ones. If I look in the mirror and I hate myself, usually I'm on my period or it's about to come. And then I know that with that comes emotions, because then I start to feel bloated and I start to feel heavy. I get that back pain. The back pain tells me that something's about to happen. And I just be more aware of not snapping at other people. So they're the really typical ones. Back pain comes before the mood swings. I don't like what I see in the mirror before the mood swings. They're great identifiers, but I also stop sleeping. So I get really, really tired and I'll go to sleep at 8 o'clock at night, but then I am awake at 1 o'clock in the morning. So I started to recognize that was a symptom of when the mood swings are going to happen. And I could, say to the next person that woke up in my house, hey, I didn't sleep last night. And that's a really good identifier to them that I'm going to be in a bad mood. I try not to be, but there are times when I am. Yeah.
And so when you sort of reflect on that past 12 or so years, what do you think was the point that was the biggest challenge for you, or challenges along the way?
All of it. The biggest challenge was having to relearn social skills. Does that make sense? I had given away a lot of my, I'd become so absorbed in myself, absorbed in my problems, and absorbed in well, you know, if you can't handle me at my worst, blah, 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 that I'd forgotten to be a half decent human being. And people aren't my friends now. And I have to respect that was my fault, because I wasn't a good person in a relationship with other people. So I think that's the biggest struggle, is at the time wondering why no one was talking to me, why people were distancing themselves. I got into a huge argument with my sister once. We were share housing and she actually left. She packed her stuff up and she left. And she didn't start talking to me again for about 3 or 6 months. But, you know, that relationship's taken a long time. And there are still times when I think she's scared of me, because my mum doesn't take responsibility and never has. And it was that attitude of, well, there's nothing wrong with me, it's your fault. If you're upset with my behavior, it's yours. And I know that there's that worry that I could be like that. So I think that was the struggle. The biggest part was that I'd become really self-absorbed and just didn't pay attention to how I was treating other people. And then the distance that people were giving me was purposeful.
I find that interesting, isn't it? Like that, even with all the physical symptoms that you've dealt with over this time, it's the mental health, isn't it?
Yeah.
That stays with you and can be the biggest challenge.
Yeah, definitely. I think I broke my arm recently. It's better now. But I broke my arm recently, and it wasn't actually the physical part of breaking my arm that was difficult. It was asking for help. It was, it is that. It's not you can't just go, I'm going to do it all by myself, when you actually need someone to cut your food and tie your shoelaces up. My dad had to tie my hair up, which was really hard for both of us. And it's that mental part of me that it had nothing to do with my sore arm. I couldn't care less that it was sore. My ego was sore. I had to ask for help, and I'm not very good at that. So yeah, I think that's always the thing that comes back to me, is how I felt rather than how I felt inside, rather than how it feels outside. I could do a transplant again, no problem, but I want to make sure that I'm a nice person this time. Yeah.
So when you reflect on this past decade or so, what has been the kindest thing that someone has done for you or to you?
I have a colleague who's an incredible human being. I think she was born that way. And she made me some cream. It's nappy rash cream, but it's magic. It's absolute magic. One of the things that you do when you have Crohn's is you have to use a lot of toilet paper. And I have really sensitive skin, and a lot of creams cause me a lot of issues. And she made a cream for me one day, and I have beautiful skin. I haven't had a problem. She's also been there for a long time. I think we've been colleagues now for 7 or 8 years. When I first started at the company, I still was trying to discover myself and trying to be a separate human being to my health. And I wasn't the greatest person, but I must have had some potential, because she does those little things. She now makes me deodorant so that I can wear deodorant and not worry about getting itchy armpits. And when I'm sick, she makes me food, and she makes sure it's gluten-free, and she cares. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Who knew one cream could fix everything, but it does. Yeah.
Well, it's those kind of sensitive places where that physical health impacts your mental health as well.
It does. Yeah. When you don't want to go to the toilet because it hurts. I've got a favorite toilet paper, if that helps. I do carry toilet paper in my handbag. Yeah, I think that she's a wonderful person. I think that I was that everything happens for a reason, and you're supposed to go through your struggles, whatever everyone's struggles look like. And people come into your world when they're supposed to. You know, I believe that I'm supposed to be in someone else's life for a reason. She's meant to be in mine. She's been lovely. Yeah.
No, you're definitely meant to be in my little boy's life for those.
I was meant to be there. I was meant to be there. Even if my significance is only on the under fives, that's fine.
They're huge years.
It's huge years. That's huge years. Yeah.
And so, what would be some, I guess, some little gifts of like advice or words of wisdom that you would share with other women who are also facing some pretty tough sort of chronic conditions?
Yeah. So just to touch on currently experiencing liver failure again, and hoping to be transplanted within, hopefully before the end of this year. And it's almost like a second chance at doing it properly this time, a second chance at going through those same exact symptoms and issues, but doing it properly and remembering the people around you who care about you. So my biggest tips would be go outside, get fresh air. It doesn't hurt to breathe really deeply. I think that we get stuck inside, especially when you have a chronic illness. Everything becomes very sanitized because you want to be as clean and healthy as possible. But outside in the dirt and the mud and the rain and the fresh air is actually so much cleaner than the hospital. So go and get some fresh air. Find something that makes you incredibly happy and do it. I play netball and I am really good at it, and it makes me incredibly happy. So even on a really bad day, I'll play netball. Even when I've called in sick and I'm not going to work, I will still try to go and play netball, even if it's for 15 minutes, because it feeds my mental health as well as my physical. And then my biggest tip is to say thank you. Say thank you to everyone. You know, as someone with a chronic illness and a current one, I still get stuck in my head, but I recognize when people are trying, and people who say, oh, you know, everyone says if there's anything I can do, but I don't actually know what to do, you know, that comes from a place where someone is saying, I care about you and I want to help, but I don't know how. So say thank you. Remember that everyone else is trying and everyone else has their own struggles. They don't look like yours or mine or ours, but they exist. So say thank you. I think they're my tips. No. And eat the donut. Eat the donut. Eat the donut, please.
Is it gluten-free?
There's a really good one in Carindale.
Is that Nodo?
Yeah. No, it's up near the Nutrition Den and Woolies. They're fried. They're not healthy, but they're gluten-free.
Oh, I think I've seen them. Yeah.
Yeah, they're really good.
No, you're not having one today.
Yeah. All the doctors will tell you to do this and do that and eat this and eat that. And I tried it all. I did. All the supplements, all the health goods, the lamps, the oils, the massages, the herbs. I tried it all. Eat the donut. It won't kill you. Eat the donut.
You got to bring those little moments of joy into your life, don't you?
Oh, yeah. And sometimes it is just a donut. We don't overthink it. Yeah. I love to read. Just read the whole day away. Yeah. Those little things that you have to. So for me, I have to feed my mental health, and just remember to recognize the people that are trying to care about me.
Yeah. And ask for help.
Yeah. You need it. And ask for help. Working on it. I'm working on it. Yeah. I'm getting better. That broken arm for 8 weeks really helped a lot.
I bet.
That was a netball injury.
The
The universe was telling me.
netball injuries.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, is there anything that you felt you definitely wanted to talk about today and we haven't had the opportunity? Whatever I've asked you hasn't brought it up?
No, I don't think so. I think mostly, no, I think that's it. I think we've touched on how my menstrual cycle has been heavily impacted and how doctors don't actually recognize that as being an issue when you've got other big physical issues. I think that's probably I guess one of the other biggest tips that I would share is if for myself, I had to make someone aware of it. I had to sort of make a bit of a scene and find the right doctor who was going to pay attention to my menstrual cycle, to help me be of quality, not just be made full of excuses. You know, I'm a psycho because of this and I'm a psycho because of that. I had to make a scene to see the psychologist and to see even a gynecologist who could make sure that everything down there was working properly. I think, go make a scene, because that's the only way I've ever really been able to meet the needs that my body is screaming to be met. I had to make a scene. I had to find the right doctors, and that meant that I had to see multiple doctors all on the same day sometimes, but it just meant that I'm a quality human being giving it a go anyway, who has got sanity and understands what's going on inside of me, and can rationalize it all now rather than just being full of excuses and angry.
That self-advocacy is so important, but you need that to be in that mental space to know your way.
Definitely.
That feeds off each
other. It was really difficult to find that. Stress sort of pushed me into looking after myself. In 2016, I was re-diagnosed with the illness I thought had gone away, and was really, really stressed. That really pushed me into looking after myself and, I guess, advocating for myself, because I wasn't ready to do it all again and do it all exactly the same way, and lose all my friends and lose my job, which I didn't. They love me. So, you know, self-advocacy. One of the biggest things I did was I lost a ton of weight whilst on steroids, which even the doctors said is you know, not possible. Give up. It's, you know, just deal with that. Inevitably, you know, you're inevitably going to be overweight. And I said, no, I'm done with it. I'm done with being overweight. I don't like it. I want to play netball. I want to feel good. And just going through that path whilst everyone else is saying you can't do it. You know, going down that path of looking for someone to look after my women's health whilst everyone is saying don't worry about it. That had to come from a feeling inside, and sometimes our feelings aren't shouting at us or aren't screaming at us. That's really hard. You know, I had to go through a lot of problems before I realized what my body and my mental health was telling me was that I needed more help, and not the help that I was staring at, but the help that they were ignoring. And that's really tough. That was not easy. I don't want anyone to ever think that it was easy.
No, I can't imagine it is, Claire. And I don't know if you've had a chance to listen to the other women that I've interviewed in this group, but there are some women who have had to, as you say, shout and again and ask again and ask again. And it's a situation that desperately needs to change for women's health to be.
I think definitely. I think that's the reason why I said yes, was because there were other women that were sharing their struggles truthfully, not the way that someone said to share their truth.
Truthfully.
Not politely, not with your teeth gritted like this. No, it's good. I'm fine. That's why I said yes to the interview, because I could see that people were being authentic and sharing their stories truthfully. Yeah.
So important. Well, thank you for sharing yours.
Thank you.
And so openly and authentically, Claire. Really, really appreciate it, and I appreciate
Thank you very much,
and what you bring to us in this beautiful earth.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I think your Facebook group is amazing, just to wake up to those. I like the motivate one. I think that one's my favorite. But just to have a connection with like-minded people in a society that's trying to create conformity, it's really important.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That acknowledgement. I wanted to create a space that even if you're having a really crappy time, you know, you can get some positivity and inspiration in amongst everything else that social media sprays at you.
Yeah, so you can definitely feel that. I love, there are a few very valuable things that have been posted on Facebook exactly when I've needed to read it. So thank you.
Nice. Good stuff. All right. Well, if anyone's got any questions, you can pop them in the comments below. Claire is, as you can hear, she sees what comes through on the group. So I'm sure she'd be happy to answer when she has time and the headspace to do so. And and reach out if anyone's in a similar situation. It's always nice to know that you're not alone. So,
yeah, definitely.
Thank you again, Claire.
Thank you.